Hi, I'm David Young and I'm the Strength and Conditioning Coach at the Hancock Prospecting Women's National Training Centre. My main role is to support our rowing coaches by helping develop strong and powerful athletes. My time is predominantly spent in the gym where we do 3 weight sessions and 2 core sessions per week. At the Women's NTC, we value development of strength and power in our rowers very highly. But for pathway athletes, it's very important you get some key movement fundamentals in place first. So my first key message for resistance training in pathway athletes is to build movement competence before load. Technique first, load second. When done right, resistance training should be safe and reduce your risk of injury. When it's done wrong, it can increase that risk. Developing the mobility and stability to perform movement patterns effectively is a crucial part of any athlete's long-term athlete development. The use of multi-joint movements with light loads such as bodyweight and medicine balls are a great way to start. See the mobility required across a number of joints during this overhead squat. During this exercise, the athlete needs to maintain the broomstick overhead while moving into a squat position. You can see the mobility required at the ankle, knee, hip, thoracic spine and shoulder, while the lumbar spine needs to be stable. Note that it's a broomstick in their hands rather than a barbell. Technique first. Other great movements like single leg squats, push-ups and supine pull-ups through full ranges of movement provide a great base to build upon when you move on to more advanced strength training. These fundamental movements also encourage hip mobility, whole body strength, trunk strength and general stability, which will directly improve rowing performance and reduce the risk of injury. Once you've nailed down some good movement quality, then add load in a progressive and sensible manner. At this point, it's worth talking about Rowing Australia's junior strength benchmarks for exercises such as the back squat and deadlift. Our rowers are only required to be technically competent in doing these exercises at 90 to 100% of their body weight. So if Rowing Australia are prepared to be patient with strength development, so should you. Key message number 2 is all about balancing your resistance training program. Rowers at all stages of their careers need this balance. But what does a balanced program look like? One easy way to strike a balance is to make sure you perform exercises from the primal movement patterns. You should spread these across your weekly training program. So primal pattern 1 is a squat. That could be an overhead squat, as mentioned previously, a goblet squat, or more traditional squatting exercises such as front and back squats. Primal pattern 2 is a lunge or single leg pattern. This would include lunge and step up variations, as well as the single leg squats mentioned earlier. Primal pattern 3 is a hip hinge. These exercises involve moving at the hip whilst maintaining a neutral spine position. In this category, there are exercises like a waiter's bow and deadlift variations, as well as more straightforward gluteal bridging and hip thrust movements. Primal pattern 4 is an upper body pulling movement. This classification includes exercises such as pull-ups and row variations. Primal pattern 5 is an upper body pushing movement. Push-ups and pressing movements like dumbbell bench press would be good examples of this primal pattern. In addition to these key movements, it's a great idea to include some explosive exercises, such as medicine ball throws and jumping exercises within your training program. This brings me on to my final key message, and that is to make sure you incorporate exercises that challenge your trunk musculature. Rowing is a whole body activity with the drive phase of the stroke involving an explosive extension of the knees and hips, finished with an upper body pulling motion. Connecting this all together is the trunk, which provides the transfer of leg drive to the arms and onto the oar handle. Neglecting to strengthen this area will not only impact boat speed, but can leave a developing rower at risk of the all too common lower back injury. Incorporating exercises for the abdominals, lower back, gluteals and scapular stabilizers should be an essential part of any rower's training program. These exercises can be incorporated towards the end of a resistance training program, or maybe in a standalone session. Alternatively, you could perform a few exercises before and after you go out for a row. I recommend picking exercises from the following categories: anti-extension, anti-flexion, anti-lateral flexion, anti-rotation, and rotation. Let's recap. Focus on high quality movement patterns before ramping up load. Remember that Rowing Australia's junior benchmarks focus on technical competence first and foremost. We care far more about your technique than how heavy you can lift. Make sure you have a well-balanced program with exercises from the 5 key primal movement patterns discussed, as well as some explosive movements. Finally, be sure to strengthen your trunk musculature to maximise boat speed and reduce your risk of injury.